You are listening to your auntie's favorite DJ, DJ Tracy Tree.
What the pot? What the pot? What the pot? What the pot?
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to What the Pod. I go by the name of DJ Tracy Tree, Show auntie's favorite DJ, and now your fairy pod mother. What the Pod is a podcast that recommends new shows for you to listen to. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday. Let's jump right into today's show. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about was a story that I found. There was a true crime podcast that actually led to an arrest in a kidnapping case. All right, y'all. The documentary podcast series Your Backyard has led to the arrest of two men in connection with the murder of California college student Kristen Smart. Now, Kristen Smart disappeared in 1996, okay? These podcast hosts started looking into this case 2019 and 2020. They did some interviews and it got some new information that came out in the case, and the police actually responded and they arrested some people. So love that so many podcasters are doing some good things like this, and that, you know, we can help the police do their jobs. No shade, it takes a whole village. Now, this woman had been missing since 1996, so that's crazy that a podcaster, you know, just sitting there having dialogue and conversation, doing a little bit of investigative journalism, actually uncover real life information. So I love this. It's dope. So check out that podcast, Your Backyard, when you get a chance. Next up, there's a rumor going around that LeBron James is going into the podcast community. And listen, respectfully, King James, I have defended you at every single barbecue, card game, in all the group chats. When people tried to say you wasn't the best, I have always said you was the best from the very beginning. Now it's time for you to do the same thing for me. Bring the best podcast producer onto your team if this is true, right? I love LeBron James. I hope he is having a podcast. We would love to hear from Billionaire Bron. How he get $1 billion? Everybody is getting $1 billion. I need to get at least $1 million by the end of this year. It seems like it just happens to you. That's how I want it to happen. And I hope Billionaire Bron tells us about it on his new podcast. That was good news. I wanted to share that with y'all. All right, moving into my 3 podcasts that I'm checking out today. So my wife and I binged this show on Netflix called Lupin. And so French scammers are my new obsession. Like many of you, I'm obsessed with scam culture and scandal in all of every types of media, including television. You know, if you want like the Fire Festival situations, the Anna Delveys, all of that was just good to me. Now, this podcast is called Persona, the French Deception, and evidently it's about a $50 million scam that took place over the phone. Now, most days I don't even answer my phone. So if somebody got $50 million, most of the time I forget my do not disturb is on. That just happened to me today. $50 million over the phone. I need to hear the backstory, so I'll be checking out this podcast today. Check out with me Persona, the French Deception. If you look down in the description, if you drive and don't look down, you can check back later to see the episodes. There is a Spotify playlist with all of the podcasts that I reference on my show, and you can follow that playlist. All right, the second podcast that I'm checked out is called Burnout. Now, I picked this one because I am currently burnt out at work. Like, it sounds crazy. I have unlimited PTO, but I never really schedule the time because I love what I do, so it never really feels like work, right? So then you trick yourself into working a lot. So now it's summertime, and I'm currently trying to undo that. So this podcast is actually telling us how burnout culture has been ingrained in our society and how we can undo that and create new rules for ourselves. Like, how amazing would that be? So I love that I can check in with this podcast and find new strategies and ways to unwrap my mind just a little bit. I want you to check out this podcast with me. Burnout with Connor Franta is on my list. That's in the description. All right, the last podcast that I'm going to check out is called Go Off Sis, and it's about the struggles of being a Black woman in America. This show is currently in its 5th season, and this episode is from way back in December, but it has Keke Palmer in it, and we love her. We're currently watching Legendary. Right after I finish this podcast, I'm about to boot up the HBO Max app. And we about to finish, at least we on the anime episode. We got 4 or 5 more episodes before the season finale, and I think that come out tomorrow. So we trying to catch up. Anyway, long story short, we love Keke Palmer. I want to hear from her and hear what struggles she's seen in the industry and kind of learn a little bit about her. And just, you know, sometimes you want to just listen to a podcast where you can relate to the host. And that's why this is one of my picks. So go ahead and check off Go Off Sis with me today. Thank you so much for listening to What the Pod. If you liked any of my podcast picks, then share my posts with your friends on TikTok. Let me know your favorite picks. You can follow me at DJTRICETRICE. Did I say that right? Treese. If you love me and you love my show, then give me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'll check back in with y'all tomorrow where I'll give you 3 new podcasts for you to listen to.